Well, this is a summary of several days grunting and hitting with hammers and stuff like this. This is my Daewoo Genius mountain bike, and there was basically very little bearing left in the bottom set here, so I decided to change it. Now, to do that, after I'd taken the pedals off using a crank extractor here, which screws into the thread there, pushes the pedal off, what's actually exposed then is a slightly more chewed up equivalent of what we see here, really, at both ends. Now, to undo that, you need a special tool which engages with the splines, thus. Now, if you can get one of these tools that doesn't look like this, but looks like this, in practice it appears to perform the same. However, if you can get a long bolt which will go through here and bolt the tool into the end that you're trying to undo, you can then put an adjustable spanner, or ideally a huge ring spanner, on it to get enough grunt to undo it. Now, assuming that you do actually undo it, this is where you might encounter your first problems. In this particular case, it's an alloy frame, and this is not alloy, this is steel. So unfortunately, what happened was, in undoing the old bottom set, the threads in here were pretty comprehensively trashed. So the result of that was, when this beautiful shiny replacement bottom set went in, 2 miles down the road it pulled out because there was physically nothing to actually engage. So usually you'd expect there to be some sort of notional resistance between excuse me, there you go. So there was just enough resistance for it to appear as if it was threaded up, but in fact there was nothing. So the result of that was the fact that the traditional replacement unit here, which relies on screwing in at one end to hold in place, was pretty much useless. And this is where its new smarter brother comes along, and this is called a threadless set. And what actually happens is, the one end goes in as usual, the other end goes in, and it screws up at each end and actually clamps it in place. Now, the only problem with this is that you might be able to notice an important difference. If we put the standard set next to the new set, is the bevel here. You notice that this is actually flat, this is beveled. And what that means is, if the hole in the frame there isn't of the right diameter, even though the specification of the two bottom sets is identical, this one, the new one, will actually stick out further. Now, it's all very well there have been small differences on the end without the gear set on, chain set on. However, if you have a difference of spacing on the chain set side, you don't get your gears, and in my case the difference is about 3 millimeters, and that was enough to stop me getting my highest gear. So what I'm going to do now is a pretty simple modification actually. This is a mounting plate for the front derailleur, the gear setter, whatever you call the changer, and it's usually mounted on the rear of this plate. If I transfer it to mount on the front of this plate, then the difference in thickness here is 3 mm, and that should be hopefully just enough to get everything to work properly.